She thought my ranch was her personal shortcut, but when she ignored every warning, I set a trap she never saw coming. The ranch stretched wide across the dusty edge of town, a place where silence was broken only by the hum of cicadas and the creak of the old wooden windmill spinning in the summer heat. The owner, Mark, had spent years pouring his sweat into this land. Every fence post, every patch of tilled soil, every repaired board carried his effort. He valued the privacy of his ranch more than anything. It was a sanctuary from the noise of the world, a retreat that reminded him of his late father's lessons about hard work and self-respect. But that peace had a crack in it, and her name was Karen. She wasn't just any neighbor, she was the self-proclaimed ruler of the homeowners association that governed the nearby residential blocks. She carried herself like a sheriff with a clipboard, deciding who was worthy of respect and who wasn't, entitled, nosy, and always convinced she was in the right. Karen had a habit that chipped away at Mark's patience every single day. She drove through his ranch gate whenever she pleased, treating his land like her own shortcut. At first, Mark thought it was a one-time accident. The first morning he saw her car rolling through the gate and down the dirt path that cut across his pasture, he waved, expecting maybe an apology. Instead, she rolled down her window and, with a dismissive smile, said, "Your gate is the quickest way to Pine Drive. Saves me 10 minutes every morning. Hope you don't mind." Then she sped off, dust trailing behind her car like a scar across his land. Mark did mind. He minded a lot. That gate wasn't a community road. It was his. His father had built it, and it stood not just as wood and iron but as a boundary, a reminder that the ranch was private. Yet day after day, Karen treated it like a public alley, driving through without a care. He tried politeness first. The next time he saw her, he stepped into the road and asked her kindly not to use the gate. She raised her sunglasses, squinting at him as if he were being unreasonable. "Don't be so dramatic," she scoffed. "It's just a shortcut. Besides, you've got plenty of land. What's a little road use to you?" With that, she pressed the gas and disappeared again. The gate began to wear down. The hinges squeaked louder, and the wooden planks grew loose from the constant strain of being swung open and not shut properly. Mark hammered nails, replaced bolts, even put up a bright red sign, "Private property, nitrogen monoxide trespassing." But the sign was nothing more than a suggestion to Karen. She ignored it, just as she ignored every neighbor who hinted at her arrogance. Sometimes, at town gatherings, Mark overheard others whisper about her. "That woman thinks the whole rules don't apply to her," one said. "She fined me for leaving my trash can out a day late, but she speeds across private land like it's nothing," another muttered. "She acts like she owns half the town." People rolled their eyes at Karen's behavior, but no one dared challenge her directly. She had a way of turning every complaint into a lecture, every question into an attack. Weeks turned to months, and each time her SUV crunched gravel across his ranch path, Mark's frustration deepened. Repairs were costly, not just in money but in time he could have spent tending his cattle or maintaining his barns. The final straw came one evening after a long day of work. He pulled up to find the gate hanging off one hinge, broken entirely from being slammed open too many times. Karen's tire tracks cut deep into the dirt, fresh and mocking. Mark stood there for a long time, staring at the damage, feeling a slow burn rise in his chest. It wasn't just the broken gate, it was the principle. His father had taught him to respect what wasn't his, to honor boundaries, to leave the world better than he found it. And here was Karen, laughing at those values, trampling them every morning for the sake of 10 minutes. That night, sitting on his porch under the orange glow of the lantern, Mark clenched his fists. He had been patient, polite, even reasonable, but Karen had pushed past every line. Her laughter at his expense, her smirk when he brought up the damage, those images burned in his memory. He realized then that confronting her directly would never work. People like Karen thrived on control. She expected others to bend, and she treated boundaries like they were meant to be crossed. If he wanted to stop her, He'd need to be clever. The plan formed slowly. He studied the gate, thinking not of how to block her but of how to teach her a lesson she couldn't ignore. He reinforced the posts with steel beams hidden behind the wooden frame, digging them deep into the ground so they wouldn't budge. He replaced the planks with fresh lumber, stained to look old so she wouldn't notice the difference. And he installed a spring-loaded hinge that swung the gate shut instantly after being opened, faster than anyone could react. To Karen, it would look like the same old gate, but beneath its weathered surface, it was stronger, and yielding, and unbreakable. For a week, he tested it in secret, opening and closing it with careful precision, making sure the mechanism worked. At night, he would sit on his porch, looking out across the dark fields, waiting for the moment. The morning came faster than he expected. From the porch, he saw Karen's silver SUV speeding down the road, the same arrogance in her approach. She didn't slow, didn't hesitate, just nudged the gate open as she always did. But this time, the gate slammed back behind her with a force she wasn't prepared for. The heavy wooden bar caught the side of her car as it swung, scraping the paint, then locking into place with a sharp metallic click. Before she could speed through the second part of the drive, she found herself boxed and the gate had snapped shut, locking her car inside the fenced stretch of land like a pen. Her horn blared, echoing across the pasture. She rolled down her window, shouting for Mark to open the gate. Her voice carried the same superiority as always, but there was a crack of panic beneath it now. Neighbors, hearing the commotion, began to gather at the edge of the road, watching with a mix of curiosity and amusement. Mark took his time walking down the path, his boots crunching gravel slowly, deliberately. He could feel the eyes of the neighbors on him, waiting to see what he would do. When he reached her car, he tipped his hat politely. "Morning, Karen. Looks like you found yourself in a bit of a bind." She glared at him, cheeks flushed, her knuckles white on the steering wheel. "This is ridiculous. Let me out right now. You can't just trap people on your property. I'll report this to the HOA. I'll report you." Mark leaned on the fence, calm and steady. "Karen, I asked you politely. More times than I can count. I posted signs, I fixed this gate over and over, and you laughed in my face. You treated my land like your driveway. But this ranch isn't your shortcut. It's mine. And now, maybe you'll understand." The neighbors chuckled quietly, some even clapping at the scene unfolding before them. Karen's eyes darted between them, her humiliation growing heavier than the heat of the sun. For the first time, her confidence faltered. She tried again. "This is harassment. I'll sue. You'll regret this." Mark didn't flinch. "No, Karen, what you've been doing day after day, that's trespassing. This is just a reminder." He stepped back, folded his arms, and let the silence stretch. The horn stayed quiet now. The whole board could no longer ignore her behavior after that. The story spread across the community like wildfire. A woman so entitled she thought she owned every road, caught in her own arrogance. The board reprimanded her, enforcing new rules that made it clear residents' property lines were to be respected without exception. From that day forward, Karen avoided the ranch. She took the long way around, past the paved streets and stop signs, her pride forever bruised. Mark never gloated, never rubbed it in. He didn't need to. The sight of that reinforced gate standing tall was enough. It wasn't just wood and iron anymore, it was a symbol of boundaries finally respected, of peace reclaimed. And so, the ranch returned to silence. The windmill creaked, the cattle grazed, and the gate held strong, a quiet reminder that some lessons can't be taught with words, they have to be lived, sometimes painfully, by those who refuse to listen.